Richard Spencer was there was a convention of sorts on Saturday in Washington, put together by these right-wing demons. And the way the Times reported it, there were 11 hours of speeches and panel discussions in a federal building they were named after Reagan, a few blocks from the White House. And speaker after speaker had laid out this vision, this neo-fascist vision for the future. But a lot of the speakers in a public forum like that had public, I mean, there was press there, but had denounced violence and said that Hispanic citizens and black Americans had nothing to fear. Yeah. The Jews have nothing to fear. That sort of thing. But these speeches went on all day. Until, and people were getting bored, they were sitting around going, oh, Jesus Christ, come on, get to it. And finally Spencer's turn to talk. In fact, earlier in the day, Spencer himself had urged this crowd to start acting less like an underground organization, more like the establishment. But his tone changed as he began to tell the audience, mostly white young men, what they'd been waiting to hear. Here's how the Times put it. He railed against Jews and with a smile quoted Nazi propaganda in the original German. America, he said, belonged to white people. You know what he calls white people? Children of the sun. And he said that the children of the sun are a race of conquerors and creators who had been marginalized. But now, with Donald Trump, whites were, quote, awakening to their own identity, end quote. And when he finished, a not small number of people in that audience had their arms outstretched in the Nazi salute. And then you could hear the shouts of, Heil the people, Heil victory. This is in Washington, D.C. last Saturday. Now, once Trump took on Stephen Bannon, this man who had run what had become the most prominent platform for the alt-right, Breitbart News. Trump took him on and then named him as a senior advisor and chief strategist. At that moment, the alt-right knew that their days in the wilderness were over. And that all the indications were that insofar as Trump's government is concerned, if the alt-right didn't have a so-called seat at the table, at least they had the ear of the Trump White House. That's never. When's the last time that happened? Was it Woodrow Wilson who made a big deal about the Klan? I mean, a positive big deal about the Klan. Wasn't that when Birth of a Nation came out, was released? Wasn't it shown in the Wilson White House? But since that time, you know, there has been a concentrated effort to try to in a political sense or in a sense of justice, I guess, to homogenize us, Americans, no matter, you know, race or ethnicity or religion. Try to make us subject to equal protection under the law, equal opportunity, equal respect in the court system. You know, the idea that, as the framers put it, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Okay, I mean, biologically, unless there is a genetic disorder, yeah, I guess most people are created equally. But what happens then? And what happens to the person who's created equally, but in the genes that he gets from his, or she gets from her mother and father, and maybe grandparents, there's all kinds of unpleasant things. But society, in my opinion, or what I've been taught, society should try to compensate for the prejudices and the bigotries and the this and the that, and people's physical conditions by making what's available in this country available to everyone. Now, the alt-right white movement doesn't, no. And I've been reading lately that this is how the Democratic Party has gotten its ass kicked all over the country, year after year after year, because white people don't want to hear anymore about the shit that they put on people of color. White men don't want to hear about the shit they put on women. They're tired of it. So along comes a so-called populist like Trump, who really addresses only one segment of the population. And they respond. Trump has never talked about equal opportunity for anybody. Oh, he stood up there and told black people, oh, your neighborhoods are fucked up, your education, your schools are fucked up, this is fucked up, on and on and on. But does Trump not realize that they're fucked up because of the racial situation in this country? So it's no surprise, or it should not come as a surprise, I don't think, that it's becoming apparent that the Trump administration has become kind of a bucket where all of these, Hillary Clinton called a basket of deplorables. She didn't say it correctly. And because she didn't say it correctly, she opened herself up to a lot of guffawing and pointing and saying, you stupid bitch. But the fact is, the people surrounding Trump right now fit into that category very easily. You know, I still can't even conceive of Rudy Giuliani being Secretary of State. Are you fucking kidding me? I don't know what, he's got to be one of the ugliest, and by that I mean not just the way he looks, but the way he talks, the way his mind works. Ugliest candidate for Secretary of State of the United States, I think, ever, certainly in my lifetime. Rudy Giuliani? And then this Michael Flynn, is that his name? The retired lieutenant general to be national security director, or whatever the hell he's being considered for, who refers to a religion of 1.5 billion people on this planet as a cancer? Even an atheist like me can be offended by that. But there they are. At this conference on Saturday, Spencer said he had coined the term alt-right, and he defined it. It's a movement with white identity at its core as its core idea. So they're talking kind of identity politics too, but there's no room for anybody but the whites. At the conference, Spencer said, according to the New York Times, quote, "We've crossed the Rubicon in terms of recognition." Much of the discourse at the conference was overtly racist and demeaning toward minorities. One speaker, a guy named Peter Brimelow, I've seen his name before. He's the founder of something called VDare.com, which is an anti-immigration website. And at the conference, he asked why, if Hispanics had the National Council of La Raza and Jews had the Anti-Defamation League, why were whites reluctant to organize for their rights? I mean, to organize for white rights? White people in this country have never been denied the rights of equal protection under the law, equal justice, equal opportunity. So on the surface, you get some idiotic son of a bitch who dropped out of school in the 11th grade, and this guy said, well, you know, the Mexicans have La Raza and the Jews have anti-defamation. Why can't we have the alt-right? And it'll make a little bit of sense to these assholes. And it's senseless at its core. He talks about how whites have been marginalized and beleaguered. That's like the Christian fundamentalists. They talk about, we Christians are being persecuted. What the fuck are you talking about? You're being persecuted. Christians? Give me a goddamn break.